Welcome to Spam Filter for Your Brain, bite-sized ponderings on how our thoughts influence our behaviour and our lives, and because we're all connected, how our thoughts impact the world. I'm here to help people reconnect with their bodies and declutter their brains. And I don't believe that we should just magically know how our emotions and our thoughts impact our lives if no one ever teaches us. So let's learn this stuff together. So this week I'm talking about something which you may already know, but I only learnt it a few years ago, and as soon as I understood this information, it made so much sense. So much of my life made so much sense. And what we're going to be talking about today is the idea of why we hang on to insults more than compliments. Why someone can say 20 nice things about you, and then there's one thing that jars a little bit, and that's the thing that you keep replaying in your head, or that's the thing that really stands out, that you focus your attention on, and quite often can be the lasting impression of the conversation. That's why you can have people remind you how loved you are and how brilliant you are and how wonderful you are, left, right and centre. But as soon as someone criticises your appearance, for example, that becomes the loudest comment in the room and the one that you really ruminate on. Now, it may make perfect sense to you why we remember the bad things more than the good things, but I didn't know this. So come with me if you're not familiar with this theory. And that is quite simply that remembering the bad stuff, remembering the things that are unpleasant, is what has kept us alive for hundreds and thousands of years. The people who remembered which people said bad things about them, the people who remembered which things in effect came across as dangerous or unsafe, were the people who remained alive. The people who trusted people a little bit too much, or the people who just kind of ignored the things that didn't feel comfortable. They were the people who went chasing bears, and they were the people who went and hung out with the other tribe who were offering them a nice cup of tea, and then they ended up in the cauldron. Or they were the people who, I don't know, perhaps saw some rocks being thrown at them and went to go and try and pick up some of the rocks because people might be playing fetch. Whatever the image is that you have in your mind, it is the people who are terrified and hypervigilant of the dangers all around them all the time are the ones who survived for hundreds and thousands of years. And we are generation after generation after generation descendants of the people who've been scared. And for hundreds and thousands, millions of years, this has served us. And this is the thing that has caused the survival of our species, to narrow it down to us having the brains wired in the particular way that we do, because we are the descendants of the frightened people and also the descendants of the people, the alive people. It just so happens that this particular point of evolution, which has worked so well up until these exceedingly modern times, happens to now be the thing that prevents our growth, because we are so frightened of getting things wrong or being judged or being outcast or being seen in any kind of negative light by other people, that unless we work consciously and really put a lot of effort into working against it, it prevents us doing anything that exerts energy, looks or smells or tastes a bit like change. Our brains want us to rest. Our brains want us to stay small and safe, and preferably in the cave, because out there might be bears. So when you are wondering why it is that, you know, your partner might say a whole load of loving things to you, and then there happened to be this one thing that you heard inferred, or you read into, or you thought that might not be phrased in the way that you would like it, or you might think as being said in a way or about something that you were not particularly happy about, why that's the thing that is so much more important than all of these lovely things that they have said or done or shown throughout the years. It's because we're hardwired to look for this stuff. But when we know that this is the way that our brains are wired, and it's an evolutionary thing, we can also, now we know that that is where things come from, we can actively work to change it. Because once we're conscious of something, we can decide if it's something that we want to keep doing or not. So sometimes I find the most useful thing that we can do in these kind of situations where we are ruminating over something that feels negative or doesn't sit quite right with us, or we're thinking that someone else's judgment of a situation might be more valid than our own is. I've just really check in with yourself and ask yourself what the feeling is. And if the feeling that is coming up for you, if you can label it as a one-word emotion, if that feeling is fear, then perhaps there might be something that is triggering off in our own internal wiring systems that just means your brain is trying to keep you safe. And when we think of it, rather than I'm afraid something's gone wrong, we can look at it as I feel frightened. Oh, my body and my brain are trying to protect me. Then suddenly it takes a little bit of the fire out of the situation, and it's almost like a bit of a exhaling shoulder drop moment of like, oh, I can see what's going on here. And when you can see what's going on here, you can decide whether it's something that you want to be in a reactive state about, or whether you want to put some effort into responding in a different way, or trying to put your energy and focus into maybe trying something new this time. Obviously, if you'd like to try something new this time with me, I'd be really happy to do that over at Self-Care School. But also just writing things down on paper and just sort of looking at the resources and the tools that you have around you to be able to look at doing something different is always available as an option to you. Awareness precedes change. And this is the way that we can watch our brains, look at the things that have kept us alive until now, thank them, and possibly, if we want to, let some of them go. I hope that's been useful for you if you hadn't heard that theory before, and I hope it provides you much peace in moments where you're feeling really challenged. I look forward to speaking to you next week. If you're enjoying what you're hearing on the podcast here, I would love to invite you to Self-Care School. Self-Care School is a membership site where we have group coaching calls every week. We have a whole load of courses that you can dip into for whatever suits your needs. We have courses on confidence, body image, timekeeping, how to manage big emotions, overwhelm, loads and loads of stuff in there. You can kind of pick out whatever you want to work on. There is a big library of workbooks, which includes journal prompts and questions for you to be able to apply this work to your own life. And we have the most amazing community where people support each other. We learn from each other, and you get to work alongside people with quite often very different life situations to your own, and we learn so much together in community. If you would like some more of this, please do hop over to selfcareschool.co.uk.